Hey, beautiful. So I'm cooking dinner and I just wanted to record this while it's still kind of fresh in my head. I hope you're doing fantastic as always. And it really is on the topic of a couple stuff. As we become entrepreneurs, there's just so much chatter out there on who has the best method, and especially if you're new to entrepreneurship or starting your business for the first time or your passion project, we instinctively just kind of want to get the answers to, the best way to save us time and energy. And some of us, it takes a little bit of time to get there. We do want it, but I think we kind of fall into the assumption of like we don't really want to put that much work into it. And so we want the quick answer without having to like actually put any skin in, as they say, into the game or save us time or whatever. And there's just, everybody's out there claiming that their method is the best one, that it is the one, and you have to follow them and blah, blah, blah. And I think it kind of like even relates back to like parenthood. If you're a first time parent and you have no idea what you're doing. So let's be honest. And so when you reach out, it's this common feeling of like, I'm asking you because I just kind of want you to tell me what to do in a sense. But what you will find is the right, the really good friend or the good family member or the, you know, good whatever person you're going to will not really, it's kind of irritating at the moment, but they won't actually give you the answer that you're necessarily looking for. They, because they ultimately is your decision. Like you have to decide, and through all the coaching programs that I've invested in, the ones that I have found the most success with are the ones that don't actually give me the easy answer. Like I come to them with these problems, and I'm like, okay, tell me what to do. They're like, I can't, like, just because I tell you that something sounds good or the title of your course sounds good, like, yeah, it sounds good to me, but it doesn't mean that it's going to work. Like, just because I've been successful in online course creations or online coaching or whatever, and I tell you that what you're telling me sounds good, at the end of the day, I can't promise you that it's going to actually be good for your business and your audience. You won't know until you test it. And so it kind of made me start thinking about some stuff. But I heard this other coach talk about this today, and it really kind of hit home for me because I'm a multi-passionate and I'm also an empath. And so for me, it's been one of the hardest challenges with entrepreneurship is kind of sticking to, one plan and kind of seeing it through. I see all these, empty promises from all these other people trying to sell me, some quick win. And sometimes I fall for the gimmick just because I'm exhausted and I have so much going on. I'm overstimulated. I don't have enough time. And I just kind of was like, I just need a quick win. And, it sounds like so glamorous, the promise of like, getting your first million subscribers or followers on social, just follow this simple 3 step and, whatever. And it's just like, oh my God, that sounds amazing. But in reality, that may have worked for them, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to work for you. And there's been a lot of just cracking down on those types of posts over all social media is what I'm like tracking, in that they're just trying to prevent people from falling victim of really buying into these false kind of like uh, promises or whatever you want to call them. And so I've been doing a lot of sales copywriting, like training and research and whatever. And that's kind of been my focus because I know it's the one thing that I haven't really focused on at all And I really felt like it was the missing piece. And a lot of the sales copy training that I've been through really do focus on this pain point sales copy, where you're essentially kind of putting it in the face of your client, like, whoever, whether it's on your social media or your website, kind of like putting it into their face, their pain point, and calling them out on it, and then bringing them back. Hopefully, you guys can't really hear that rattling. Like I said, I'm cooking, to get them to realize that you have, like, yes, like getting them to basically do small yeses, like, yep, that's me, that's me, that's me. And then eventually be like, well, I got the solution for you, kind of situation. And what I learned about it today is that, it's been kind of, it doesn't necessarily feel organic to me. Like, I have a really hard time writing my sales copy in that tone. It just it doesn't feel natural to me. Let's just put it that way. And what it was is that these two coaches were talking amongst themselves, and what they realized was that they were getting clients using this pain point copywriting like technique or approach, but they were also identifying that they were feeling exhausted. And it really got me thinking, because I'm an empath. And so I have noticed as a new mompreneur that things that I used to not have problems with, like when I used to go teach, I could teach 3 or 4 classes and not, like, in a day, and not feel like any big difference. Now, just one class kind of has me feeling literally like exhausted, and sometimes kind of like over whatever. And I think it's because of the fact that as parents, we are constantly being overstimulated, and it's not something that a lot of people talk about. You're constantly being like yelled at. Your name's being called out like 500 times. You're listening to, like, if you allow them in your house, some really repetitive, annoying sounds from toys. You're watching the same thing over and over again. If you're breastfeeding, you're being pulled at, or fucking and having wet weird thing being shoved into your face after they've been sucking on, and all this stuff, and you're so overstimulated. And then you try to go and you teach, if you're like a coach or a wellness instructor or something, a therapist, and that last little bit of energy literally gets like sucked up, no problem. And so it's just something to keep in mind. If you were an entrepreneur, things that may affect you as you become a parentpreneur or a mamapreneur, that you might not have thought about before, or if it's happening and you're not sure what you're doing wrong, or whatever, know that it's normal, and that's pretty much why. So back to like my point of this podcast was that instead, like, the point with the pain point is you're identifying people with all these problems, and then you're telling them that you have the solution to their problem. And for some niches, they do work, but for some, especially for heart-led entrepreneurs like us, it's not the best method, because we sometimes will really get burnt out and exhausted before we really see our success, because those types of clients that we're attracting tend to drain us and our energies, and we can't really, like, switch our stuff back that quickly. But if you switch from pain sales copywriting to empowerment sales copywriting, then you start to really attract the people that really want to get help, that really, like, they already kind of know, and they're like, again, empowered. They are going to put in the work. They want to be changed, instead of some of these other clients that you might be attracting with the pain point, where they're going to be reluctant for change. They're going to be one of those types of people that you're going to have to, like, drag with, your hands, and they're going to be complaining that they don't have results. They don't feel better, you know. you're going to have to constantly be coaching them. I mean, that is why they're paying you, but is that really going to be like worth the energy that you're going to be putting out? Is I guess what you need to be thinking about. And so it really started to get me thinking about, or I should say, rethinking about all my current sales copy because, like, for my yoga and my sub yoga, I don't really feel like it's too that big of a deal. But from a business coaching standpoint, my web design and that stuff, I've already had clients that I know if I had more of those types of clients on a daily or weekly basis, I would get burnt out, like just from an energy perspective. So I know the type of clients because I've already been working with them. And the ones that I don't, and I can clearly see how it could make a huge difference just changing the way we posture them in our sales copy. So as a fellow multi-passionate preneur or, mamapreneur, I definitely can tell you that you do need to make this decision for yourself. For some people in their niches, paying sales copy will work beautifully and it really, is the best way to get clients. But for some people, it may not be. And I just want you to keep this in mind as you continue in your entrepreneurial journey that it is not a one size fits all, even though a lot of people will try to push that on you. There's going to be so many people claiming that they have it, but at the end of the day, nobody can really promise you that their way is the best way for you. You really need to kind of do some dig digging into your own brand, into your own mission, into the type of people that you want to attract. And this, at a certain point, just like parenting, you're not going to know if it's going to be your thing until you try it. Like breastfeeding. Some people are like, oh man, breastfeeding is super important. It's definitely something that I want to do. And then you start and you're like, oh my gosh, I hate this. And then this feeling of like guilt because you kind of in your mind made the proclamation that you were going to do it. And then you start to feel more resentful as you're doing it because you don't like it. And it's like perfectly okay to be like, I tried it, I hate it. And it's actually more damaging for both of us from a mental perspective if I decide to continue it. So I decided that it's not for us and I'm not doing it. And I'm like, that is a perfectly good, rational decision making right there. But we feel like we're not allowed to make those decisions or to say those things out loud. Or if you do make the decision to feel ultimate remorse and guilt and like not even feel comfortable sharing it because you don't want to be judged. And that's just not fair. So I am with you 100%, whatever you decide. I hope this was helpful and just kind of opened up some like, brain muscles to be like, oh my gosh, I hope you have maybe an aha moment like I did. Like I said, although it's the scarier side of entrepreneurship, sometimes we won't know unless we try. So you're doing awesome. You're doing amazing. I'm super proud of you. And I will catch you in the next episode.